Abu Dhabi 2025 ends with Max on the top step and still losing the title by 2 points. Only this guy can win the race, flip the scoreboard after 8 wins in a moody car.
Max, can you let Russell through, please? Let Russell through.
Nope, I was ahead.
And still walk away watching Lando Norris get the big trophy, while Piastri stands there like the quiet hitman who nearly stole both of them. If you only watched the last 4 seasons, you walk into 2025 expecting to see Max bully the grid on cruise control. Instead, the first chunk of the year felt like a setup test that somehow got promoted to a world championship. The Red Bull was jumpy on the brakes, lazy on traction, and allergic to bumps. McLaren rolls up with a car that looks welded to the track and started farming everyone who thought the dynasty would run forever. Max throws everything at qualifying and still ends up staring at a papaya front wing on Sunday. Races where he used to vanish into thin air turn into trenches where he's defending from Ferraris in random dark blue shapes, while Norris and Piastri stack wins like it's their own private championship. And the radios swing between pure rage and deadpan sarcasm.
Beautiful. Fucking beautiful.
One lap he's yelling that the rear's sliding all over the place, the next lap he's dropping that board, yeah, copy. I mean, sometimes the dude just ignores strategy and just runs his own race. Even on the days when he drags the car to the podium, the gap still grows and the title looks like a polite fantasy. While all this is going on, the second Red Bull seat turns into a live-action HR experiment. The year starts with Liam Lawson next to Max. A good kid with a strong record drops straight into a car with a target painted on it. He's stuck in traffic, he's missing Q3, he's doing rookie things in a seat that just doesn't allow rookie things. And the scoreboard is brutal. By the time the circus rolls into Japan, the story flips. Red Bull promotes Yuki Tsunoda out of the junior team and drops him straight into the big garage next to Max. Home race, national hero, now the only thing between the Dutch guy and total mental collapse is a tiny man who yells on the radio even more than Max. Somehow.
Okay, Yuki, let's push 1 step more on tires. We are good on tires. We need to cover for signs. Push, push.
Mate, I am. Look! Again, pushing more because there is a car. Alonso at default. I look at dirty here.
Copy.
Even with the upgrade and chaos, the second car still doesn't save the constructors' fight. Yuki has some strong Saturdays and a few sweet moves in traffic, but the Sundays swing between decent wingman and why is that car facing the wrong way on the exit. At mid-season, the point sheet doesn't show a monster pairing. It shows one driver keeping the team in the fight and another one trying to survive the hurricane. The low point is Silverstone in July, a track where Max usually treats the crowd like background noise. This time, the car just refuses to cooperate. They chase setup through practice and still line up with a front end that will not bite and a rear that lets go when the race restarts. Restart chaos drops him into the mess, strategy does him no favors, and he's got to fight his way back to 5th while the orange cars up front hoover up more points. The radio from that race might as well have been sponsored by the sensor beep, with GP trying to calm him down while he swears at the whole plan. After that weekend, the numbers were ugly. Max is 69 points behind Oscar Piastri, and Red Bull are sitting in 4th in the constructors. Nobody's asking if he's going to win the title. They're asking how fast he can get out of his contract. The Horner saga finally ends in July when Red Bull fire the man who built the empire and promote Laurent Marquez. 1 minute Max is answering questions about whether he's going to Mercedes, the next minute he's climbing into a car that still refuses to behave through fast corners and trying to stop the season from turning into a retirement tour. And that frustration leaks into every long run. The radio messages are half feedback and half stand-up said. He complains that the balance is all over the place, then pulls a move around the outside of some poor Aston like the car is perfect. He calls the tires finished, then slaps in a purple sector for fun. From the outside, it looks like a tantrum. From inside the cockpit, it's a driver trying to drag a diva of a chassis up to the level of a title fight that it doesn't really deserve. Somewhere after that British low point, the car stops being a full-blown clown show and turns into something Max can actually lean on. McLaren still have the cleaner package, but the gap shrinks enough that every time rain threatens or strategy gets messy, the whole grid tenses up. A messy day is Max Day. Late in the year, qualifying looks lost, and then the race turns into a Verstappen case study. Starts where he launches past two cars like they're parked. Safety car restarts where he places the Red Bull so wide, the guy behind has to pay rent to get around it. Long stints on used tires where he just refuses to drop off the times. One late scrap has him leaning on a McLaren so hard their wheels kiss out of turn 1 and neither of them lifts while the stewards hover over the replay button. Forget 2023 rocket ship dominance. This is a knife fight craft in a car that finally stops biting him every time he looks at a curb. Monza is the loudest example. Red Bull stripped the thing down for straight line speed, and he turns the Italian Grand Prix into the fastest race in Formula One history, averaging around 250 kilometers an hour and beating Norris by about 19 seconds.
Max Verstappen wins the Italian Grand Prix.
That win hacks a big chunk out of his deficit and pushes him back into the real title conversation. The radio afterwards is classic Max. A quick thank you, a complaint about how the car still feels weird in the chicane, and straight into what they can clean up for the next one.
Yeah, sure, you have swap places, Max.
Just because you had a slow start?
Sao Paulo is the chaos highlight. Power unit changes dump him into a pit lane start, and the overtake counter might as well be branded with his name. He spends the afternoon carving through traffic, picking people off into turn 1 and around the outside of the middle sector, and by the flag, he's turned what looked into a damage limitation Sunday into a podium from pit lane. His 7th podium in a row. The executive wins pile up. Austin turns into a clinic where he soaks up pressure from both McLarens and still walks away with the flag. Other weekends, he turns a scrappy 4th on the grid into a win by bullying the field in traffic and snapping up every small mistake from Norris and Piastri. One weekend, the standings still show a long way back. A handful of rounds later, the gap is shrunk to something that makes everyone reach for a calculator and a painkiller. Through all of that, the attitude barely changes. When he wins, he shrugs and calls it a good day at the office. When he loses, he sounds like someone just keyed his road car. The post-race interviews swing between cold analysis and open contempt for anything that cost him 3 points. He's lived in a world where finishing second by 20 seconds is a disaster, and that wiring doesn't switch off just because the car stopped being a cheat code. Every team radio is free therapy for some poor engineer. Early in the year, GP is getting cooked every other lap. Max rips into the balance, the engine mapping, the pit wall calls. One round, he's so angry about strategy that the only clean words in the whole message are his race engineer's name and the word box. The rest is a mix of beeps and Dutch.
I find this unbelievable.
The taping
How can you be so blind?
coming through, man.
You want me to repeat it again? This fucking tire is dead. This.
Later in the year, that same voice that shredded the team on bad days turns into pure ice on the grid when everything is on the line. Before a race he absolutely has to win to keep the title alive, he just drops a simple, "let's do this." And it looks like he's already mapped out the first stint in his head. Other drivers talk about giving it their best shot. Max talks like the result is done and the world just hasn't seen the timing screen yet. Even in the middle of the Horner mess, he still posts a thank you when the guy gets fired and walks out of Milton Keynes for the last time. Then he climbs into the same unstable car built by people who either left or are about to leave and drives it like he stole it. After a year of miserable early Sundays, mid-season spins, and late-season hero mode, Max rocks up to the final round with a real shot. Norris leads the standings, Piastri is still in range, and the maths is tight enough that every pass matters. The Red Bull is finally in a window he trusts. The McLarens still look better over a full season, but on this night, it all lines up for him. He wins the race in Abu Dhabi. Of course he does. What sticks is the table that appears after the flag. Norris on 423, Max on 421, Piastri on 410. 2 points between another star on the helmet and one of the most violent runner-up seasons you will ever see. A fired boss and a revolving door of teammates into a last-round shootout and still misses by 2 points. 8 wins. The fastest race in history at Monza. A pit lane to podium special in Sao Paulo, and a season of radio rage that somehow never tips into full meltdown. I mean, people can argue about whether the dynasty is over or just bruised. I just watched him lose a title in his ugliest season since he started winning everything, and I still would not bet against the guy next year. Hit like if you enjoyed watching him fight a diva of a car all season, and subscribe so we can roast the rest of the grid when they eventually bottle it next year.